Beautiful human beings, what is up? Welcome to episode 6 of Soul Speaks with Spack. The theme behind today's episode is around turning your pain into purpose, turning your deepest pain into purpose, and also understanding what it means to live in a purposeful way. So if you're going through grief right now, if you're going through heartache, heartbreak, loss, maybe you're going through an identity crisis, you don't really know who you are, what you value, what your purpose is for being here, but you have a deeper yearning for more. You have this desire to experience deeper connections, more fulfillment, more joy from life. Then this episode is going to be incredible for you because I'm going to dive deep into my journey, my story, pivotal moments throughout my life that shaped the man that I am today and helped me better understand what my purpose is and what it means to have a purpose. As you can tell, I'm excited to be here today. I'm grateful to share my message, my heart, my energy with you. It's been a freaking minute since I last recorded a podcast episode because I've been on quite the journey. I left my home country of Australia in March. It's now mid-October. I've ended up here in the countryside of the UK in a beautiful little city, they call it actually. It's the smallest city in the whole of the UK. It's called Wells, in a region called Somerset, and the English countryside is freaking beautiful. I don't know how I ended up here. I'm actually pet sitting at the moment, looking after a beautiful dog and some cats with my girlfriend. And it's just funny, when you allow life to flow, you end up in some pretty interesting places. And I am a true testament of that. And so what I've realized is that along this journey, it's so important for me to have a strong foundation. I'm going to share a little bit more on that in just a moment. So I've been on this nomadic, explorative journey for the last 2 years. I left my 9-to-5 office job and I decided to book a one-way flight to the US where I lived for 3 months. This was after COVID, after the madness, the lockdowns. I basically booked a one-way flight to the US and I lived there for 3 months. I lived in Costa Rica for 6 months in the jungle, and then I pivoted and I decided to come to Europe. I spent a month in Spain, 4 months in Portugal, and then in November of 2022, last year, I decided to go home and be with my family for the summer, for the Christmas, but I booked a return flight. So I left Portugal with the intention to come back to Portugal. And so in March of 2023, I flew back here to Portugal, back over to this side of the world, and lived in Portugal for 6 months and have been between Portugal and the UK ever since. And now I've decided that I'm going to head back home to Australia next week. I'm flying back home because life has changed. My idea of what my purpose is has changed and has evolved. And I think it's important to not become too attached to the idea of finding your purpose and that being your lifelong purpose. I believe our purpose as human beings here is forever changing and shifting and uplifting and evolving. And so I think it's important to be open to the infinite number of possibilities that exist and to kind of see the purpose in each and every moment, each interaction that we have with humans. There's so much purpose in that. I believe that every single person that we meet is an emanation of God, of spirit, of source, of the creator, of the universe, whatever you want to refer to it as, the great encompassing. I believe that every individual that I meet is an emanation, a reflection of that. And so there's always something for me to learn from everyone that I meet. And there's always something that I can share that perhaps they will learn something from as well. So with that being said, my journey has been practically traveling and exploring the world for the last 2 years, immersing myself in different ways of life. I lived in the Costa Rican jungle in a community. I learned ancient healing practices like Temazcal, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a sweat lodge. I spent time with indigenous elders from Mexico who came to Costa Rica to teach myself and the community that I was living with about the art of Temazcal, the history behind it. And it was so profound, such a different way of experiencing life. And it opened up so many doorways for me within myself and also in this outer world as well. It helped me understand what life is about and also helped me realize how little I will ever know. And that is really humbling. So I'm going to break this down and share my stories so that you can start to understand perhaps what your purpose is, or how you can see and cultivate more purpose in your day-to-day life. Me growing up, I was very fortunate. You hear a lot in movies and documentaries when someone goes from rags to riches. They're born into a poverty-ridden family, and against all odds, they break free of the abuse, the domestic violence, the generational trauma, and they make something of themselves, whether they become famous, rich, or have a beautiful, loving family, whatever it is. I was kind of the opposite of that, but somewhere in the middle. So I was by no means born into a rich family financially. Definitely a family where we live above average, beautiful house, but we were rich, and we are rich in love. My parents have been married 30 plus years, my grandparents 60 plus years. And what I've realized is the more people that I meet within a similar age to me, how many families are broken, how many families are apart, how many of my friends don't have a mother and father that are together. And so I am incredibly grateful for the beautiful family that I have. And being the eldest of 3 boys, we're all in close proximity in terms of age, but I was the eldest. And so I was my mum's first child, and she nourished me, she nurtured me, she loved me. And I'm so grateful for my mum. She's such a beautiful woman. And at the same time, I became the sanitizer baby. She looked after me and protected me, and it was from a place of love, but there was also elements of fear involved. And so I grew up feeling like the world was a scary, dark place. I believe that I didn't have a strong sense of knowingness within myself about who I was and what I valued. And my parents put me in to an all-boys school, a Catholic school, an expensive school, a prestigious school. I wore the high socks, I wore the tie, the blazer. I had to have my hair cut above the collar. And this is what a good boy is, and this is what a bad boy is, and this is how we do this, and this is how we do that. And I obeyed the rules like a good boy. And that was the feedback that I would get from my teachers, is that Jake is a very intelligent boy. He's very smart, very switched on, but he can distract others, and he is distracted himself. I was the smallest and the skinniest in all of my classes, on all my rugby teams, and so I felt physically inferior. As a little boy, especially with no older peers, no older brother, I had some older cousins, but I didn't really have that role model that I could look up to, and so I felt a little bit isolated, and I felt quite insecure about my size and the way that I was. And so one thing that I knew that I had was my funny side. I could make people laugh. I could crack jokes in class and people would find me really funny. I became the class clown. I became the guy that people would laugh at. So I tried on the class clown mask, and I was the funny guy. I would make everyone laugh. I would crack jokes in class. I would get sent out of the classroom, and then of course I would be in trouble. I would have detention. My mum and my dad would have to come to the school and speak to my teachers, and I would get in trouble. And so my parents threatened to pull me out of this private all-boys school multiple times. I was, at this point, wanting to rebel. I was feeling this nice guy, this people pleaser, this good boy. I wasn't resonating with it. It was creating resistance within me. And so then all of a sudden, I got to year 9, year 10, and my parents were threatening me even more. My grades were starting to slip, and they said, Jake, we're going to pull you out. Why are we investing all of this money into you and your education when you're not taking it seriously? So it got to a point in year 10 where I started to love the school again, and I wanted to be there. I formed a brotherhood. I had some really good mates there. But by this time, it was too late. My parents said, that's it. We're pulling you out. You're done because your grades aren't picking up. And so then I got put into a public school, a college, where there was boys and there was girls for year 11 and 12. And I went into this public college. It was a lot more freedom. There was a lot more of an ability for me to play up and to skip class and to do naughty things. And so going into this college and leaving my friends behind, this college was founded upon their sport. They were known for their sport. And so I actually got a scholarship to go and be a part of this college, and I became a part of the talented sports program. So for the next 2 years, rugby became my life. So this private all-boys school that I was a part of, I was here from year 4 to year 10, and leaving behind and saying goodbye to my mates that I'd built up until that point was a pretty hard pill to swallow. It was bittersweet. Again, this was a part of my identity being killed, the identity that I had built up for myself around being a broy bro and hanging out with the cool rugby boys at school. I had to separate from that. I had to go into year 11 and 12 in a completely new school and make something new of myself. There came a point where I decided that this is all for the best, and I'm going to embrace this new opportunity to be in a college with girls and sport and wearing whatever I want, wearing my hair however I wanted. This rebel within me was starting to expand and evolve, and I was dying and killing that old good boy, nice boy. So I started year 11 at this sports college, and here I was already skipping classes, doing the bare minimum to get by, to get a pass. And I started hanging out with what you could consider the quote unquote wrong crowd, doing drugs, doing burnouts in the car parks, started to smoke weed. I started to drink alcohol. I started to go partying on the weekends, much to my parents' disgust, and especially with my mum being the protective mother that she is, she wasn't having it. She would put in rules where I'd have to be home by 10, I'd have to be home by 12, I'd have to report back to her. And again, this rebel in me was continuing to evolve and expand, and this frustration and resentment towards my mum, towards my family was unfolding. And so I didn't come from rags. I came from a family full of love, but I started and I began to create my own hell here on earth. And this was through me making what you could consider poor choices. And I don't sit here judging this younger version of myself, because I see the innocence within what I was doing. I see the innocence within everything that I've done. And I also see how destructive it has been as well. As I went through year 11 and year 12, I started partying, drinking, taking drugs, doing all the kinds of drugs, smoking weed, popping pills, snorting lines of cocaine. I became very disconnected. I became so separate from this nice guy, this good boy, this polite boy, and I jumped really over into this teenager full of testosterone, full of anger and rage. And I actually was training in the gym 6 to 7 days a week, eating bodybuilder style diets. And it got to a point where I really wasn't happy with the way that I looked. I wasn't building muscle fast enough. And I'd connected with this guy in the gym who had definitely been taking steroids for a period of time. And I decided, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? This is going to help me get big and jacked, and girls are going to like me, and people are going to think more of me if I'm stronger and bigger. And I've never been able to get big. And so I started using steroids. And this was when I was 18, 19 years old, 19, 20 perhaps. And I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. Now, when I look back at it from this place that I'm at in my life, I realize that underneath the hood, there was a wounded little boy that was longing to be seen and heard and accepted and held and loved. And I'd never given myself that, and I was continuously seeking that through everyone and everything outside of myself. And ultimately, me going to the gym and flogging my body, me taking drugs, me using steroids was perpetuating this whole situation, was pulling me further away from my true self, pulling me further away from my heart. And deep down, I always knew and always have known that I have a pure heart, that I am full of love, that I do love deeply. But I just put on all of these different masks to allow myself to feel safe, to allow myself to be accepted. Or in the attempt, I was trying to be seen. I was trying to be accepted. I was trying to be liked. I was trying so hard rather than trusting in the beautiful bliss of my heart. I was trying instead of trusting. So I'm asking you right now, do you feel like you are trying so hard in life? Or do you feel like you are trusting? Are you acting out of fear? Are you acting out of lack? Or are you acting out of trust? Are you acting out of love? The intention, the energy behind your actions is the most important thing. Back then, I was going to the gym. I was training heavy. I was beating my body from a place of I am not enough. I do not feel like I am enough. When I get more muscles, then the girls will like me. Then people will be attracted to me. Then I'll feel like I'm enough. It was always this lack mindset, this energy of not enough. And desire is a frequency, is an energy, is a vibration that is a bottomless pit. When you desire something and you get that, it's on to the next thing. So my ego, my identity, my sense of self, whatever you want to call it, has continuously been built up and dissolved. And each moment when my identity is dissolving and unwinding before my eyes, there's resistance that comes up within me. It's like I'm trying to hold on and cling on to this sense of control. The control and the safety, it's an illusion, not actually the truth of who I am. Who I am is a divine and unique emanation of the Most High. Call that God, Spirit, Source, Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, Allah, the universe, whatever you want to call it. I am a divine, unique emanation, representation of that, as are you, as we all are. My pain has become my purpose. The pain that I experienced through shunning that little boy that lived within me, through believing that my worth is found through other people, through believing that I'm not enough as I am. I need the muscles, I need the laughs, I need all of these things to feel like I'm enough. Understanding that all of that is just an illusion, all of that is just an idea, and that I am whole and complete and unique and beautiful as I am. That is so purposeful. And being able to share that journey and share that message with you, I believe, is very purposeful. And what I've realized as well since leaving my home country of Australia in November of 2021 and going on this huge journey, traveling the world, living in all of these different countries, is that I don't necessarily have to find my purpose through someone or something out there. I actually get to find purpose in this message that I'm sharing with you, in the way that I can move my body, in that morning cup of coffee that I can brew. There is purpose within that. That is such a gift. There is so much richness in every single moment if we choose to drop into that, if we choose to see the bliss and the beauty in each and every moment. Like I right now am in the UK, in the countryside, here in Somerset, on the other side of the world, recording a podcast, sharing my message, sharing my heart with you. Like little boy Jake would have never even considered this. And I feel like this journey has given me an opportunity to reconnect with that little kid that lives within me. And that little kid lives within you as well. It lives within all of us. And I believe when we nourish and we connect to that little kid, this is where the creativity is born. That little kid within us has all of the creative ideas, the wisdom, the joy. I truly believe that I'm able to share my message, that I'm able to make a positive impact in the world whilst cultivating and experiencing a state of joy. Life is the gift. Life is the gift. When you realize that heaven is not an end destination and that hell is not an end destination, I get to choose to experience heaven here on earth right now in this moment by the thoughts that I think, the feelings that I experience, the environments I put myself in, the practices that I choose to take on each and every day, the way that I show up every day. I get to create heaven on earth in this moment right now, or I can create hell by the thoughts that I think, seeing the bad in everyone and every situation, seeing the negative, seeing the darkness. I get to create hell on earth by the practices that I take on, by consuming heavy amounts of alcohol, by taking drugs, by wearing all of these masks, by pretending to be someone that I'm not. That to me is creating a hell on earth. And so when it comes to being and living purposefully, it all happens in the now. To me, I've learned that my purpose isn't found out here in some distant timeline of the future. My purpose is how I'm choosing to experience this moment right now. How I'm choosing to drop in and show up in this moment right now is my purpose. Because tomorrow is not promised. All I have is right now. Yesterday's gone. The future doesn't exist yet. All I have is now. So the way that I'm choosing to drop in and express myself and share this moment with you is the most purposeful thing that there is right now. Wow. So growing up, being in an all-boys school, wearing the people-pleaser mask, wearing the tough guy mask, wearing the rebel mask, wearing the I don't give a fuck about anyone or anything mask, it's led me to this place now where I do give a fuck. I give many fucks. I give fucks that matter. I'm less focused on what that person's saying about me and more focused on how I'm choosing to experience this moment right now. I'm choosing to give fucks about things that I have control over, which is my inner state, my inner world, where I direct my attention. Where your attention goes is where energy flows. And so if I'm focused on what someone is thinking or saying about me, I've got no control over that. So when I'm focused on someone or something else, I'm not focused on how I'm showing up. And so I'm pulled away from my own inner guidance. I'm pulled away from my own truth. I'm pulled away from my own power. And so there is so much purpose in choosing your inner state, in choosing to be protective and intentional with the way that you use your energy. And so this is why I give many fucks, and I love hard, and I love a lot, but I'm also very intentional about who I choose to pour my energy into. That's why my circle is small. So if you really want to find your purpose, I encourage you to consider this. What if your purpose was less about finding something out there and more about going within and finding what sets your soul on fire? Intentionally choosing how you want to show up in the world, choosing what you want to experience, choosing the kind of people you want to surround yourself with. What do you actually value in life? How do you feel in this moment? Are you able to drop into this moment and be really present? Are you able to see how purposeful the fact that you are living and breathing right now, how purposeful that is, that you are alive, that you are a human being? I believe that anyone right now that is living and breathing and a part of this ecosystem, this universe, is here for a fucking purpose. Nothing is on accident. So drop into that rather than being so focused on an external, outside-in approach that you've got to find something or find someone out there to give you purpose and meaning. Go within and discover what that purpose is within you. One of my intentions when I left Australia in November of 2021, it's been almost 2 years now, was to find my purpose, was to discover a deeper meaning to what it means to be here in this existence. And I must say, I did find that. And I believe that we can find purpose through experiences, through throwing ourselves in uncomfortable, unfamiliar situations. I believe that is such a potent way to meet the depths of who you are as a human being. When you're in a situation where there's no thinking, there's just acting, there's just instinctive ways of being, this is like a moment in life that you come out of and you're like, holy fuck, I survived that. I did that. It's like those moments are so purposeful and can unlock such a deep knowingness within what you are truly capable of as a human being. And I experienced so many of those moments, specifically when I was in Costa Rica. And one of those moments was when I was in the jungle and I stumbled upon this incredible conscious community, and I was with my girlfriend at the time, my first love, and we'd been together for a period of time, and we were rocky. I was uncertain about where things were going, and I felt like it was time to choose myself, but I was still unsure. I felt like I was going through this dark night of the soul at this time. And I went out on a day on my own, and I met 3 men on this day. 3 men, and I believe that these men, there was no accident. It was no accident that I came into contact with these 3 men. It was very bizarre, very profound. And these 3 men that I interacted with on this particular day, I believe were there to teach me a very specific lesson. And the first man that I met was not long after I left the place that I was staying in Costa Rica. I was out walking and I was planning to hitchhike and catch a ride in, because hitchhiking in Costa Rica is super common. There's one main road that goes between all the cities. So I was leaving Ojotjal and I was walking, and I walked past this bald guy, this older looking guy, and kind of said hello to him. And I kept walking. And as I got onto the highway, I'd walked for 50 meters, and then I heard this ute pull up beside me. This truck. And this American guy yelled out, "Hey man, where are you headed? Do you want to lift? Do you want to ride?" And I said, "Yeah, absolutely." I jumped in and we started talking, and he told me that he was a firefighter. He'd just retired from New York. He just basically bought a huge piece of land here, a big property. And I explained to him that during this time I was doing a work exchange. I was volunteering on a property in exchange for food and accommodation. This is very common in Costa Rica, very common across the world actually. If you want to travel the world, get on a workaway, check it out, you won't regret it. And so we got talking, and he said, "Oh, what have you got planned for today?" And I said, "Oh, not much. I'm planning to go and meet another friend to play pickleball." And he said, "Oh, do you want to come and check out my property?" And so I said, "All right, let's go and check it out." So he took me up to his property, and he picked up a six-pack of beers on the way. This is well after I'd stopped drinking. And he was drinking. He was a lonely man. I could sense that he was lonely. I could sense that he was not genuinely happy. He had it all. He was filthy rich, very, very rich, very wealthy. And he took me up to his property, and he was a butcher. He had his own company, his own meat company, where he did bacon and sausages and ribs for all of the different restaurants throughout Costa Rica. And he was telling me how, look, I'm really behind today. My worker, he stuffed me around, and I've been traveling all over today to just pick up this one product. And I could tell that he was really flustered and really overwhelmed. And I decided, you know what, I'm here to help. I'll help you out. Next thing I know, this guy has invited me to start hanging racks of pork up for him to cure the bacon, and then helping him make sausages. And it was really, I agreed to help him to begin with out of genuine care and support. But pretty early on, I thought, oh, I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right anymore. And so I spent, the next couple of hours there with him, talking and getting to kind of know him and know what his mission is about, because I was actually considering going there and helping him in the future until I discovered what it was actually like. So after a few hours of being with this guy, I decided, you know what, yeah, I'll give you a call if I decide that I want to come and help you out further. But it left a sour taste in my mouth. There was just an intuitive knowingness that that's not a place that I want to be. Nice guy, great guy, but it was not for me. So then I got dropped off back down closer to where I was going to be, my end destination. And I thought that I was at the right place, where I was going to be meeting my Canadian friend to play pickleball. And it was raining, and it was just about to get dark here in Costa Rica. And I was in an unfamiliar place. It was actually a dodgier kind of area. It gave me a weird feeling. I could feel this sense of fear creeping up within me. I could feel this sense of unsettledness. And there was a car there which looked similar to my friend's car, and I thought it was my friend. And I honestly went up to it and I knocked on the window. Because it was raining, I couldn't see in the window. And this guy with this big afro wound down the window, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, man, you're not my friend." I said, "Sorry, I thought that you were someone else." And he said, "What's up, man? What's up?" Like he was acting a little bit funny. He felt like it felt a little bit strange. And I said, "Oh, look, I'm sorry. I'm looking for my friend Brendan. I'm looking to play pickleball with him. He's invited me here this evening." And he said, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Oh, I'm from Australia." And he said, "Oh, kangaroo." He started talking about kangaroos. And I'm like, "Look, man, don't worry about it. All is good." And he's like, "Get in." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "No, this is not right." He's like, "Get in." I'm like, "Man, it's okay. I'm Jake from Australia. I'm here. I'm not here to have any trouble. All is good. I'm gonna go." He's like, "No, man, get in." And that third time that he looked at me, I looked at him in the eyes, and I could see in his eyes that he was, there was just, again, this intuitive knowingness within me at this point that it's safe. And at this point, I was feeling very emotional, very overwhelmed. a little bit scared, to be completely honest with you. I felt like I was way out of my comfort zone in this moment. And I got in the car with him, and he had this energy, this calming energy about him. And it was like, all is good. And I think that he tuned in and could see that I was a little bit flustered, a little bit emotional, because I'd been going through a lot with my partner at the time. And he just said to me, man, what's up? And I said, oh, look, I'm here. I've come to meet my friend Brandon and to play pickleball with him. I'm just in Costa Rica. I've been on this big journey. I've left my country to go to America and to Costa Rica. And he was just so incredible. He's like, man, he's like, do you know how smart you are? Do you know how intelligent you are? And it was like he was telling me these things about myself that I knew intuitively, but I just couldn't even really accept it at the moment. I had been really going through a dark night of the soul, where I'd built up so much resentment and hate towards myself against the world. And I was really feeling very heavy in my heart at the time. And I said, look, I've got this girlfriend. I really love her. I care about her. And I just want to make it work, you know? And he just looked at me so calmly and took a breath in and said, brother, you know what? He said, you need to love yourself first. And at that moment, I burst into tears. I actually broke down. That cracked me open, because it was honestly one of these moments in my life where it felt like God was speaking to me through this human being. This guy's energy, it felt like it was God sitting there speaking to me directly. And as I said earlier on in this podcast, I believe that we are all divine, unique emanations of God. And I genuinely believe that we all have that level of presence and love and care and kindness within us. And it's up to us to unlock that. And that comes through us having the willingness to look deeper within ourselves and unlock the tension that's built up around our hearts, the physical blockages that are within our body, unwinding that trauma, letting go of these limiting stories to allow ourselves to truly connect to ourselves, which will then allow us to connect with other human beings. But this guy in particular was incredible. He unlocked this part of me, and he said, the second part of this, you know what you need? You need to find your purpose. And I'm like, man, this is why I'm here. I'm on this journey to find my purpose. And he was right. He was right, because at that point, I hadn't really understood what it meant to find my purpose. And again, I think even the language around finding your purpose is that it's this outside-in approach, is that someone or something is going to be your purpose. But I believe the purpose is created from within every time. And this beautiful human being, he was just very special, as we all are, but he was tapped into that. He was so tapped in. And I'm like, man, how did you get to where you are? What is going on? Because immediately I was just filled with curiosity. I wanted to spend more time with this guy. And he'd spent years in the Amazon jungle with elders, with shamans, and a lot of time in meditation. And yeah, he was a really cool guy, really special guy. And actually at this time, I had this huge blister on my hand, which had become so infected. So my whole hand was swollen. I had this pus filled up all within my hand. And I said, I actually was going to get this fixed today. I was going to see a doctor, but there's no doctors open today. And then he's like, man, let me fix it for you. So he drives the car up to this tree, and he goes up to the tree and he starts talking to this tree as though he's communicating to the tree, and kisses the tree, pulls off these leaves, gets me to scrunch them up in my hand and smell them. And this, I believe, was supposed to be an antiseptic and also help with the pain. And then he bursted the blister, squeezed out all of the pus, bandaged it up for me, and then he brought out this little elixir, this glass bottle, and it was properly capped. So it wasn't like he was trying to do anything dodgy. I had already built Like, it was like instant trust with him after I got in the car. And this elixir was his own company. And the company, from memory, I can't remember the name of it. Something to do with a boomerang. It was funny because he's not Australian, but it was this blood builder basically. And he told me, have a sip of this every single day, a capful, and this is going to help rebuild your blood, get rid of any toxins. And this was his company. It was a vegan, natural, organic product, really, really powerful stuff, really like a thick syrup. And it actually tasted nice and sweet. And this was just so profound. It was so synchronistic. After being with this butcher, this kind of creepy older guy that had it all on paper, had all the money, had all the wealth, but didn't have a strong connection to source, to God, really didn't care to know about me. Really, all he wanted to do was communicate about himself all day. And I can hold space for that. I can listen to that, but it was just an intuitive no. And then on the other flip side, this second guy that I met, it was like he was just this spiritual, connected, godlike human being that was also really grounded and real and true and authentic. And so that was just such a profound moment for me. And that really flipped another switch within me that was like, yes, you need to love yourself first. You need to reconnect to that little innocent child that lives within you. You need to open your heart. You need to go within. And that was really a powerful, pivotal moment. And then the final guy that I met that day, the third man, who was my friend actually, who I'd met a few weeks before, who is a father of 7 from Canada and had moved his family over to Costa Rica after the pandemic, basically bought a big property with land, putting fruit trees and all of these kind of things on there, building more of a sustainable life for him and his family. He's a really incredible family man. And he's very religious, very Christian, very by the Bible. And I spoke to him about my situation and what I was going through. And he actually was acquaintances with the second guy, the spiritual guy that I had just been with. And I said, look, I'm going through it right now. This is what I'm experiencing and being with. And I just met Pepe, and he helped me understand that I need to love myself. I've kind of become disconnected from myself. And my friend Brandon, the Christian, he said, man, Pepe is a little bit too much about this self-love, and he's too like, love yourself. And the Bible says that you should be of service and you should give and you should sacrifice yourself for your family. And so he gave me a fresh and new perspective on what this meant. And this then left me at the end of the day with like, whoa, what had happened? I just had 3 different male figures, strong male figures, that all seemed to have different ideas and opinions and ways that they operate in life. And it left me to reflect and take the lessons and the blessings and really understand what all of this meant. But it was just one of those moments that was very synchronistic, and there was so much purpose within meeting these 3 men, even though I experienced completely different feelings with them, with each of them. So this goes to show that your purpose is found within this moment right now. It is found through the people that you meet if you choose to be open to the lessons and the blessings that everyone and anyone has. Everyone that you meet has something to teach you if you are tuned in, if you choose to be open to the lessons and blessings that other people can teach you. So to finally wrap this up, if you are going through a period of pain and heartache and heartbreak, I invite you to be with the pain. I invite you to be with the feelings of discomfort and frustration and fear and anguish and sadness, and to feel the feelings. Allow yourself the space to feel what you need to feel without needing to judge or repress or run away or distract yourself. Allow yourself to be with the feelings and simply observe and witness what's coming up, and notice if there is anything that you can learn from what you're feeling, from what you're experiencing. Because I believe every moment in life is an opportunity to learn, is an opportunity to grow, to heal, to evolve, to expand. But it takes you being open to the healing and the growth opportunities. It takes you allowing yourself to be receptive to life instead of being distracted from life. And all we have is right now. And so you're either open and receptive to life, or you're distracted and closed and shying away from life. But the choice is yours. We as human beings are the co-creator of our reality. So the idea that the universe and God is just going to take care of everything is a false misconception. It's not true. We are co-creators. We have the free will to choose our path, but we've got to choose. We've got to choose something. And I choose to create heaven on earth. I choose to see the purpose in each and every moment. I choose to see the purpose in the feelings of discomfort and anguish. There's so much purpose in every single thing. And so I have released the idea that I need to get somewhere in order to live on purpose. This moment right now is my purpose. I am so grateful for the last 2 years, everything that I've learned along the way, through leaving my home country, through living in all these beautiful places throughout the world, through meeting incredible people. And it's really helped me understand what's important to me right now. And that is building a foundation, that is building a family, that is building my career, my business, my community, sharing my message with the world, building a really strong foundation. Because ultimately, one of the things that I've felt through traveling constantly and constantly being on the move is that I'm keeping my head above water and I'm experiencing incredible experiences, but it feels like the ability to really grow onwards and upwards, it's challenging. It sometimes feels as though it's 3 steps forward, 1 step back. And so what I'm starting to realize is a strong, solid foundation is so important for exponential growth. And when it comes to bringing a family into the world, creating a family, it is so essential to have that foundation, that stability. So I'm incredibly grateful. I'm so happy. It's been such a journey, and I'm so excited to see my family back in Australia, to reconnect with them. And honestly, traveling has opened me up to the infinite possibilities. It's opened me up to deeper insights to myself, to the world, to the way that we all operate, to the way in which we can make the world a better place. It's just, traveling is such an amazing way to grow. I encourage anyone that is considering to travel to get out there and go all in and really let go of the idea that you need a plan, because I believe that when you take that first step, the next step in your journey is revealed to you. I believe as the co-creator of your reality with God, source, spirit, the universe, by you taking a step, the universe is there to support you. God is there to support you. The next step will be revealed to you. So you don't necessarily need a 10-year, 20-year plan, especially when it comes to traveling. If you want to go that more spontaneous route, as I have, it's powerful, it's amazing. And some of the environments and places you end up in are just incredible. And those pinch yourself kind of moments. I've had so many of those, and I'm so grateful for those. But what I've realized is that traveling for the near future is not necessarily my path. My path now is grounding, rooting down, building a strong foundation. And if I hadn't gone on this journey to travel and to get way out of my comfort zone and to continuously push beyond my edges, then I would have never even known that this is what's really important to me now, is building that foundation, being close to my caring, loving family, being around them, having their support, leaning on them for support. And I'm grateful. So I appreciate you tuning into this episode. This is deep. I've shared a lot about my journey from being a young kid, and there's so much more. There's so much more to this. And what I'll actually do is create a part 2 on this particular episode, because there's a lot more that I feel like I can share about my transition from being the party boy, the angry boy, from the age of 18 through to 22, 23, and then transitioning into a more grounded, connected, intuitive, loving, caring human being. There's a lot more to share within that. So if you want a part 2, let me know. Let me know if you have any questions. And if this resonates, please let me know what resonates. And I look forward to dropping in with the next episode, episode 7. So that'll most likely be when I'm back in Australia. So back down to the land down under, just in time for the summer. So it's like I've been on this endless summer kick, except here in the countryside of England right now, it's definitely feeling a little bit like winter. It's kind of cool. So I'm grateful. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, venture beyond limitation. Let's go.